right. Good evening. The August 13th, 2026 Racine County Public Works, Parks and Facilities Committee meeting is hereby called to order. My name is Ernie Rossi, and I am the chairman of the committee. Due notice of this meeting has been given, and the open meeting law requirements have been met. Other committee members present tonight include Supervisor Horath, Supervisor Weatherston, and Supervisor Wishaw. Sorry, getting some feedback. Oh, we lost one of our members. Mute the mic on your phone, Tom. Perfect. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Tonight we have members of the Racine Youth and Governance Program present who will be participating in the meeting in a non-binding advisory capacity. And that would be Mr. Cale O'Connell and Ms. Madison Sabo. I get it right that time? Good. Please do not speak unless you are recognized by the chair. Also, please silence your cell phones. This meeting is being live streamed. Thank you. We will now begin the meeting. All right, first item, call to order and roll call. Next, review and possible approval of the draft summary minutes for the July 9th, 2026 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes as presented.
All right, we have a motion. I'll second that.
Second.
Oh, we'll take the second from Supervisor Wishaw. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the July 9th, 2026 meeting. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Waiting on Weatherston. All right, and that is a yes from Weatherston. That would be unanimous then. So passed. Moving on. Item 3, public comments. I see we have no one in attendance, so I assume, oh, we have one. Sorry. Anything to say? All right, moving on. Item 4, review, discussion, and possible action on a resolution for a memorandum of understanding between Racine County and the Waterford Youth Football Club for the donation of improvements to the football field at Case Eagle Parks. I'd like to start with Director Beam, and then I think Supervisor Wishaw might have some comments.
Yes, Chairman Rossi. I'm actually going to pass this off to Chad Sampson over here on the Parks agenda. This is just to, I guess, sum it up. This is a long-standing relationship our two counties had with the Waterfall Youth Football. They've been in Case Eagle Park for many, many years right now. This is going to be an MOU, a memorandum of understanding with some improvements they're going to be doing to the field. And I'll let Chad take off from here.
Yeah, so the Waterford Youth Football has implemented a new sod for the turf for the football field, and they're requiring some new watering systems. So what they want to do is upgrade the existing well so they can irrigate and maintain that football field in a nice condition. So that's the main change in the longstanding MOU is the addition that they're going to upgrade the well and maintain it in order to water the football field. That's the rest of the agreement is pretty standard. It's been kind of long standing. It's just nice to get it all in one MOU and get it presented before the committee and the board.
Thank you. Supervisor Wishaw, do you have any comments?
No, I don't have any comments. I think everything was explained perfectly. I think the folks that are there tonight have done a tremendous job, and I think we're looking forward to continuing the partnership with them.
All right. And this does require board action or approval, so we are looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, may I offer?
Yes.
Comment? Thank you. Yeah, the one thing that I did after I read the MOU, the update, and I did share briefly my thought. I know, Chad, I mentioned it earlier in Raleigh, that I didn't see a term date on this, which, by the way, in reference to this discussion and the youth football program, I guess maybe I'm almost looking to protect them as much as us, because at this point, without some kind of a sunset date, we could turn around and say in 30 days, after they've spent $100,000 on something, that we want to do something different or we don't want to give the park to them anymore. I guess my question really is, should we not try to protect that in here? Or is that something that's already been discussed and determined by legal that we're okay, we don't need to worry, we're protected and they're protected and they've approved and so on? I'm really just looking to protect both parties right now with this conversation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Horwath. It's interesting that you said that. This was a point of discussion that that myself and Director Beam had prior to the meeting, is that at first we didn't see a term, but the term is what you stated. It's essentially in perpetuity until one party decides to notice the other that in 30 days the agreement would cease. It is slanted in favor of the county. I do agree with that. I like that. I think if they're okay with it, I'd like to proceed as is. We could work up some language and possibly modify this in the future. The nature of the improvements, though, are we talking high capital investment or is this something minor?
I don't know the exact cost of it, but I just know that they were pulling water from the Fox River to actually do the irrigation. And with people crossing that path from where the water is coming from back and forth, there was some areas that were being missed that weren't being irrigated because they can't monitor that or day round. So I'm not sure what the exact capital cost was to that, but that they were going to cover it. So I guess I wasn't too concerned.
But if I may, when I read this, I also saw things about enhancements to exterior lighting, 2 concrete pads, bringing in bleachers. I'm assuming there's an investment there. I don't know. I thought, and this one I might be making up, I thought I saw something about a building or something for concessions. All of that I saw in here. If this is now a product of what has already been done, and this is only about the well and what have you, okay, well, then we put it in one bucket. But if this is about exterior lighting, concrete pads, to your question, the investment to me is more than trivial. It sounds like it's a pretty substantial investment. And that's where my questions came in when I reviewed it.
Supervisor Rosen.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I made the building is done, the lighting is done. The bleachers, are the bleachers out there, Patrice? The bleachers are out there. So these are all things that already have been done. So I think this is the well being added to.
The main addition was the well for sure.
Okay, so this really then, the MOU is what you said earlier, is encompassing what's been done or been getting done, and now something additional, which is in fact the well.
Correct.
And
Okay.
this, excuse me, sorry, Supervisor Horwath, didn't mean to cut you off there. I believe this was an agreement that was essentially approved by a previous Public Works Committee and then never made it to the board, is essentially what the issue was.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, from my knowledge, and again, I wasn't in the Parks Department a couple of years ago, so I'm not exactly sure where that ended up, but sometimes, you get busy and just the contract doesn't get pushed through from an email or something like that, but I'm not sure exactly what happened there.
Mr. Chairman, then with that all having been said, and the history here and the fact that I'm confident that corporate counsel has taken a look at this and has signed off on it, I'd make a motion that this be approved and move forward.
All right, we have a motion. Supervisor Wishow, I'll speak to you in Weatherston. Is there a second? All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Horwath and seconded by Supervisor Weatherston to send this for first reading at the county board on August 25th, 2026. Discussion? All right. And excuse me, I need to make sure that I get you guys when I ask for votes. My apologies. The committee, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, and all those opposed, no. All right, unanimous. Youth and governance, all those in favor, say aye. All right, and opposed. All right, and that's a yes for youth and governance. All right, moving on, item 5. Review, discussion, and possible action regarding a resolution authorizing the conveyance of county-owned land by permanent easement to Wheat Energies for the installation and maintenance of a gas pipeline project on County Line Road in Caledonia. And the action we're looking for is requesting first reading the county board on September 8th, 2026, after approval of the fiscal note by FHR on September 2nd, 2026. So two-step process here. All right. I believe this one's going to Shannon.
I can take care of this one. Shannon and I decided we'd divvy it up. She do the last one, I do the first two. Yes, Chairman Rossi, this is the Rochester lateral. It's a big major pipeline that's going to be going to the Oak Creek Power Plant, starting on the west end of the county. Actually starts all the way in Walworth County, but it's going to the Oak Creek Power Plant. And there's two parcels to be in question. This is the first one that we're going to be addressing right now. And this is going through the Hunts landfill over in Caledonia. If you look at the first, the agenda number 5 packet, and you're looking at how many pages in here is it, I'm going to say about 8 pages in, you'll see a map on there, and that yellow is the outline of the Hunts landfill. There is a current easement that goes through there already, and this is going to be an addition. This is going to be for a permanent limited easement. The permanent limited easement is going to be in the orange, and it's a 50-foot easement that runs through east and west of the property. They're going to be open trenching through the field, and they're going to be boring underneath those wetlands. So that's this in a nutshell. I guess any questions on this easement?
I have none.
Supervisor Wishaw, did you have a question?
No, I just said I have none. I think Raleigh did a great job explaining it.
All right. Okay. Without any questions, then we'll be looking for action. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as presented on this resolution, please.
All right. I'll tailor that a little
Second.
bit to sending it to the county board for first reading on September 8th. Is that acceptable, Supervisor Horwath?
That is correct.
All right. So we have a first by Supervisor Horwath. I believe there was a second by Supervisor Wishaw.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to send the item number 5 for first reading at the county board on September 8th, 2026, after approval of the fiscal note by FHR on September 2nd, 2026. All right. Discussion. All right. Committee, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
All right. That was an aye by Weatherston. All those opposed, say no. All right. Youth and governance, all those in favor, say aye. All right. And opposed, say no. All right. Unanimous by both bodies then. All right. Moving on, 6. Easements today, a lot of easements. Item 6, review, discussion, and possible action regarding a resolution authorizing the conveyance of county-owned land by permanent easement to We Energies for the installation and maintenance of a gas pipeline project on the East Frontage Road in Caledonia. The action we're looking for is first reading of the county board on September 8th, 2026, after approval of the fiscal note by FHR on September 2nd, 2026. So is this one Shannon?
No, I'll do this.
All right, Director Beam.
Yeah. Thanks again, Chairman Rossi. This is on page 11 is going to be the exhibit for this specific easement request that We Energies is doing, again, for a gas pipeline. This is a very small parcel owned by the county. It is on the East Frontage Road. It is just going to be south of 7 Mile Road. This one is much smaller. I believe they're going to be, there's fees associated with these easement. I believe this is a $3,000 fee for this easement that they will be paying the county for that. I guess if there's any more questions, we do a lot of these. None of us are real strangers to this, but if there's any questions, I guess feel free to ask them.
Yes, Director, just so for future reference, $3,000 a day, a week, a month, a year, forever.
That is the total cost that they'd be paying us for that easement.
So they'll pay us $3,000 and that's it then.
Correct. Yep. They do an appraisal for how much property they're going to be taking on there. And they do a appraisal. We can certainly challenge that appraisal if we choose to for that, but for $3,000, and I would call that the going rate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Horwath. I would like to point out in discussions prior to this meeting with Director Beam that we talked to, what is our path here if we deny this, if we don't approve it? And well, Director Beam, if you would like to provide comments on that.
Sure. If we would decide to challenge it, we would it would essentially there'd be two ways to do it. We can challenge it. We're going to be in negotiations with that, and then we can choose to get our own appraisal for the property. That'd be one way of doing it. Outside of those traditional negotiations. The second would be go to court where we go through the eminent domain process. And in the eminent domain process, if we were to either way, it would be still be a taking through eminent domain. But if we were to challenge it and we were right on that, they would pay our court fees, they would pay our lawyer fees. If we were wrong, it'd be the exact opposite. We would pay their lawyer fees for it, and whatever that judge decided would be the fee is what it is.
So just so everyone knows, Director Beam and I, we take a quick look at these, you know, what the actual surveys are for the easement. And I haven't seen one that even comes remotely close to not passing the sniff test.
Right.
So if we ever see one, that'll be something interesting. But as is, these seem to be pretty standard, and Director Beam has much more experience than I ever will or would on these items. So his opinion matters greatly to me on these. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that this be approved as well as presented and discussed.
All right, I'll tailor that motion then to requesting first reading at the county board on September 8, 2026. Is that acceptable, Supervisor Horwath?
Yes, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. So we have a motion. Is there a second? All
Second.
right. We have a second by Weatherston. I'll get that one too. So the motion has been first by Supervisor Horwath, second by Supervisor Weatherston, to send item number 6 for first reading at the county board on September 8th, 2026. And that would be after the approval of the fiscal note. All right, discussion? All right, seeing none. Committee, all those in favor, please, please say aye.
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 All right, please note that Weatherston voted aye. All those opposed, say no. All right. Youth and governance, all those in favor, please say aye. All right. All those opposed, please say no. All right. With that, both bodies say yes. That passes on to the county board. Next, item 7. Review, discussion, and possible action regarding a resolution authorizing the conveyance of county-owned land by temporary limited easement to R.A. Smith for a state highway improvement project on state trunk highway STH 11 in the village of Union Grove. And the action we're looking for is requesting first reading of the county board on September 8th, 2026, after the approval of the fiscal note by FHR. Is this one, Shannon?
Yes,
All right, finally.
but it needs to be cleared up that it's not just for a TLE, the temporary limited easement, it's also for fee. So that would be a complete buy.
All right, what should our amendment be then? Where should we inject that language?
That will be in the resolution, but we're working with Corporation Council on getting that resolution completed. So it would be authorizing conveyance of county-owned land by temporary limited easement and fee. And it shouldn't be to R.A. Smith, it should be to Wisconsin Department of DOT.
All right, so the amendments then after easement will be FEE to Wisconsin DOT for a state highway improvement project. Is that accurate?
Correct.
All right. So that is now our amended motion or amended item here. So any action, please use the amended.
I would make the motion that this be approved with that revision, which I'm not sure I wrote down correctly, that revision, and also requesting first reading of the county board on September 8th and the approval of the fiscal note by FHR on September the 2nd.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Supervisor Horwath and a second by Supervisor Wishow to send the amended motion to the county board for first reading on September 8th, 2026, after approval of the fiscal note by FHR. So we'll use this time now for a little bit of discussion. Shannon?
Sure. This is for the reconstruction of Highway 11 through Union Grove. It will be taking some right of way for that project in the front of Old Settlers Park. There is a map on page 12 of your packet that has colored areas where it would be a temporary easement, and then also the fee, which would be the permanent easement. And that's to give more right of way to make sure that we have enough room for drainage and for the clearing of.
So everyone's on the right page here. Perfect.
The yellow would be the fee, and the blue. Wait, no, the yellow is the existing right of way. The blue is the TLE, but there's fee right beyond there. Or right in that yellow.
Okay. I was expecting more supervisors to be in the room, and we talked about giving a little bit of a, not so much a presentation, but help people understand what we're looking at with these maps. So we'll speak to Supervisor Horace here and pick on you since you're the only one in the room right now. Do you understand what's being shown here on the plan? Because we can I'd like to take a little bit of time, just real quick, to have Shannon go through it if that's okay.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
prefer, because I mean, even when we start putting in the acronyms, the TLE, and again, I'm somewhere's on this paper, I'm sure it probably tells me what that is, but obviously it's being pointed to as being one of the activities that's being addressed.
So the temporary limited easement is an easement that's given for the contractors to do their work, where they could be moving or regrading for drainage.
Is that like a staging area for them?
No, it's more of realigning the ditch lines and the slopes
Okay,
to make sure that the drainage is properly running through the ditches and the culverts or into the storm sewers. And it gives them the ability to move their equipment and not damage any of the property without having to recondition it.
okay.
And for Youth and Governance and Supervisor Horace, what you need to look at here is on this drawing, this line in the middle here, so that just the top of what you're seeing is the yellow area. That's the center line of the road. And when we talk about right of way, this is a 66-foot right of way, but they split it up. It's two sections of 33 foot. So right of way is always center line and then both ways from center line. So you've got 33 feet from this center line, and then that's the end of the right of way. And as Director Beam pointed out in our previous conversation, if this work were all in the right of way, this request would have changed. So obviously they're looking to do work outside of the right of way. And that's why we have this blue area here, which is giving them temporary access to stage, to do restoration work, which is, I believe it was the reshaping the swales there.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. And I guess just a point, and for people who aren't familiar with, Supervisor Horace said he wasn't familiar with the TLE, and there's PLE. There's three different types of purchases the county will do and that the DOT will do. One is just a buy. If we're going to be buying property, say a roundabout's going in there, we might have to just go buy property. And then you have two different types of easements. You have a temporary limited easement, and that's this case where you might be going reshaping a ditch, or you might be it's going to be more ditch work, but it's going to be stuff where you're not going to have to go revisit that, and then you can basically give that back to them after you leave. So it goes back to the owner, but you're still buying it because you're changing it. You have to go out there. And then there's a permanent limited easement. Permanent limited easement stays an easement forever. That's usually utility work, or a permanent limited easement, where there's going to be a pipe underneath the ground, and that utility might have to go back there from time to time and revisit that easement. So it's going to stay easement, and they have right to access that property on the permanently limited easement until that easement's no longer an easement.
Okay.
It could be forever. So those are the three types of purchases that the county or the state or the utilities might be doing in that.
Good.
So in Nutty Youth and Governance, so really what this comes down to is any type of utility, they don't really have the means to buy, and it would be impractical for them to just own the land. A lot of it's county owned, it's a highway, it's state owned or something of that nature. The easement is how utilities address that. So that they now have the right to access the property to maintain their utility. And you see this a lot with power. You may see, somewhere around where you live, that there's a power line that goes through an area and the company will come in and just work on it. Well, that's an easement. They have the right then to enter that property and work on their utility. That's why we do these. Okay? Any other questions? All right, well, we do have a motion and a second. So with that, committee, all those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed, say no. All right. Youth and governance, all those in favor, please say aye. All right. Opposed, say no. All right. Passes both unanimously. All right. Item 8, information only regarding the Kruger Farm lease site, AKA West Meadows Conservancy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Kruger Farm Lease site is going to be a land and water conservation educational site. So we're looking at a pavilion for a permanent structure to have school age children, the general public, elected officials, folks come out to understand what we're going to be doing as a conservation office, whether that's woodlot management, agricultural things, wetlands, native prairies. All that's going to be out at that site, but we need a kind of a meeting spot or a place for people to join us at that site. So we decided to have a capital project put in the 2026 budget, which was money for a pavilion. I'm a little short-sighted with trying to save the county money and think things are cheaper than they are. And the pavilion came in at $42,000 over total cost. So we were having the pavilion built, but constructed, fabricated, but to actually have it erected, we were a little short on money. So there's 2 options there. One, either find money or you just have it sit in cold storage until you actually have the money to build it. So I didn't really want the pavilion shipped here and then stored. So I asked some potential donors if that will probably be using the pavilion in the future, if they would be interested in donating some money. And the Watershed Protection Committee of Racine County is our farm group that works with us at Case Eagle Park. They have a lease out there. We're doing a lot of research and education out at Case Eagle Park. And with Case Eagle Park potentially having a campground at some point, we kind of see they might be shifting over to the Kruger site, which is also known as West Meadows Conservancy. I explained to them the amount that we were short, and they offered to donate $21,000 towards the cost, half of the cost that I'm short. I thought that was a pretty generous offer on their part. So what I did is I found some other parks paving money, which is a thing that's every year we kind of ask for it. And then lately we've been short on highway operations staff to actually get the parks paving done. So it's actually like, let's pave a county highway or pave the park. Well, the county highway kind of comes in priority for that. So I transferred some money from 2023 to match that 21,000. And this has gone before finance committee already and approved. That's why it's for information only on this committee, because I thought it is parks money that is getting moved around a little bit. So I thought it'd be appropriate to bring it here.
Okay. So there is no action on this item.
Right. Supervisor Rossi, if I may just tell a little background on the Case Eagle Park and basically on how this all started. So 4 years ago, we started the Watershed Protection Group asked us if they could use Case Eagle Park as a study. It is a study for regenerative farming. There's 2 types of farming. There's regen farming, that's a no-till practice, and you're using cover crops. And then there's traditional farming, where you're going to be tilling. There's issues with traditional farming that have long lasted, and one of the main issues is erosion, and then sediment transport of those nutrients inside that soil, basically phosphorus and nitrogen, and that gets in all the fresh water, and then also the soil gets inside the fresh water, and so that's the problem that you get. And regen farming with no-till and cover crops keeps that soil right in place, keeps the nutrients right in place, so it doesn't transport to the fresh water. And you're having issues with algae blooms. You're going to have issues with sediment drainage inside, like Lake Michigan over there, Boner's Lake, basically every lake, Eagle Lake in this case. And so this keeps the sediment right in place. Well, The problem is farmers are traditionally used to doing the way things they've always done things, and that's traditional tillage. And with the watershed protection group, they're introducing, I wouldn't call it a new practice of farming, but an alternative method of farming where you're using the cover crops. And what that's doing is that's keeping everything in its place, but it's also, when it rains, that wet soil is able to take that water and bring it down instead of having overland flow where you're losing everything. What happens is that it takes about 4 years for you to notice any real difference inside that, because there's a big change. First things first, that soil goes into shock. And when it goes into shock, you get a hard pack inside of it. So the first couple of years of regen farming, you're actually going to lose some production inside those fields. Your yields are going to be a little bit short, maybe even a lot of bit short. Your crop's going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit weaker. And as that soil adapts and get these microbes and living organisms inside that soil, you're going to see a big spike in coming. And we've seen that at Case Eagle Park right now. We are on year 4, and we've seen significant improvement. Last year, they're almost exactly the same. And this year, what we're seeing is that, again, they're almost exactly the same again. But one thing that we've noticed is that because that regen farming, so if you go out there, they're side by side. You got traditional farming and you got regen farming, and there's basically, what is it, a 10-foot buffer in between them?
Correct.
Correct. In between them. You're actually seeing those outer layers of that traditional farming starting to benefit from the regen farming, because a lot of those microbes are starting to transfer over on the other side. And so you're seeing those outside rows doing a lot better than they traditionally would be. And so we're going to be losing that eventually to the campground, and we're looking for a new spot to keep that going, because it is very important to show farmers this practice and show students this practice, because it's the old saying, you can see better than you can hear. This is something where you can see better than you can hear. You can preach to people until you're blue in the face, but until they see it, they're not going to change. This is our way of showing them. So that's all I have to say.
I've got 2 questions on this, so I'm going to come back to that. The first question is this: so this was for a pavilion?
Yeah, it's a 30 by 60 wood gable structure, technically, 8 feet high. Yeah, we had it priced out for the fabrication for the actual build, and for what we wanted. So I guess we chose 30 by 60 because a lot of our events hold 80 to 85 up to even 100 people, and we have a 20 by 40 tent that we currently put up before the events, and like 60 can kind of comfortably be underneath the tent, and then 20 people are kind of standing outside. Well, if it's raining or really hot and sunny, and they're not in the shade, we thought we'd have a structure that could house as many people as we're averaging at our events. So that was kind of the main purpose for the size, and that was kind of an increase in size. I didn't really think about that when I asked for the capital initially. And then the build, you always think, the build's half is about 50% more than. And then I thought, well, the 20 by 40 pavilion is only 35,000, and so another 35,000 to build it's 70, and so I asked for 70. Well, then we increased the size, and also the cost went up too, and the build is actually $63,000. And it's a little hard for me to still understand, but that's what it cost, and that's what we're gonna do.
So these events help me connect the dots between the pavilion and this type of farming. So these aren't um, family birthdays or
No,
anything that are being
no,
had out there, are they?
No, so what we have is so the Watershed Protection Committee works a lot with schools, FFAs, science classes, agricultural classes. They also work with Eagle Lake District, so lake groups, lake management people that don't want to see that dirty water in their impoundments and in their lakes. Supervisor Horth, I know he's attended quite a few of the field day events. We've had former Chairman Rodenhouse in a few events, and we've had many supervisors, former and current, at the field days. So what it is, it's just an education on what is happening out there. So there's always one field day at Case Eagle Park every year. And it's usually, this year it's September 10th, and we'll have brochures at your next county board meeting to showcase what we're doing out there. And then last year we actually had a second field day because we had a national organization come to see what we're doing at Case Eagle Park. So conservation people from all around the United States were in Wisconsin. I want to say there was about 150 people that came out to watch and learn what we're doing at Case Eagle Park with our farm group. So these events, again, It's once a year typically, but I think we want to have more. We want to expand our educational opportunities for schools and other things, and not just the farming, but like I said, woodlot management, wetland management, prairie restoration. And I have a staff, Kaylin, who's very interested in educating general public and the youth, and she wants to kind of program that into part of what she does every day. And this will be a perfect setting to have that happen.
Excellent. I guess my next question would be, how do you see this actually getting out to the farmers to the point where it's adopted? I mean, is anyone actually starting to practice this in Racine County?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Go ahead, Brasworth.
Yeah, I would, making sure that they're following certain guidelines that have been established for, let's just call it responsible farming. I asked the question at our land and water meeting, I think it was the last meeting, actually, I says, in my backyard, which is obviously heavy agricultural in Waterford, how many of the farmers there are actually practicing the no-till cover crop type of farming? And I believe the answer was upwards of potentially 70+% are actually already doing this. Now, that's my backyard. How many there might be going in some of the other backyards, I certainly don't want to speak to that. But in our conversation, the reason I also was doing this and trying to get more information is because when you start talking about the issue of the waterway, whether it be the Fox River, or whether it be Route or any of those, and you're trying to garner money opportunities or potential grants, it's important to be able to show them that there is actually activity to try to help mitigate the amount of runoff that occurs. And so that was one of the items that I know I am very involved in, because to me, I saw the result attending those meetings, or I'm sorry, those farm days over at the Case Eagle. I got to see firsthand what that really does generate. And so from my perspective, that was the value that I saw in this continuing over here at Kruger. Because I mean, I went out there with you guys the very first day that you and Rolly and, my apologies, one other, I'm escaping me right now. But we were out there to look at the facility, and they were explaining to me what it was they were planning, and I'm saying, boy, this is talk about education. And I mean, between the school systems to come out there and get a chance to see and put their hands on things and actually touch them, a lot of great value to it. So maybe I've expanded a little more than you wanted me to, Chad, but that to me was an opportunity for really seeing positive result for effort.
So I guess to continue to answer your question is that our farm group, they approached me in 2017 because they needed a collaborator. So the counties in a lot of cases are the collaborator for the group. So kind of help them, they might not be good at paperwork and getting organized and grant applications and reports and all that stuff. So they have the ideas. I just get on a paper for them, take their idea and put it on paper. So they asked me to do it. I said, sure. The group started with 5 people. This year on the grant application for 2027, there's gonna be 27 farmers.
I'd love to see this actually. You said that there's an annual event. It sounds like there's
It's
more. Is there something that the supervisors can attend coming up?
Yeah, September 10th. The event's at Case Eagle Park this year. It's 9 till noon. There's a free lunch at noon. Yeah. And then registrations at 8:15 till 9. But that's a good time to talk to the farmers during registration and ask them what they're doing. And
It was 9 to
mean,
noon.
yep, September 10th.
it would be great, Chairman Rossi, if others, I think, in fact, I think Supervisor Spencer has come out, if I
Yes, for
remember
sure.
right.
Mhm.
And there may have been 1 or 2 others that I'm missing right now, but I know unfortunately this year I am going to be out of town. I will not be able to make it, but would love to see some good representation to learn more about what is being accomplished with this.
That sounds excellent. And what's interesting enough is that Supervisor Osterman, when we were talking about the Michigan Lake transfer that happened, it was maybe over a month ago at this point. It stuck with me when he said, we're looking at what is the root cause of needing to do this, needing to dredge this Michigan Lake waterways. And I actually find a solution in this. It seems like this would address exactly that. So I find this very interesting. Well, great work.
Thank you.
Youth and governance, any questions on that? All right, we'll see you guys on September 10th then. I'm excited for it, I really am. All right, if there's no other questions, we will move on, and I don't think we have much left. I don't believe we have any referrals.
No referrals.
All right. Well, then, the next Public Works, Parks and Facilities Committee meeting is Thursday, September 10th, 2026, 5 PM. And I would advise everyone who's listening and then watching this maybe as a recording that we do have all of these meetings published. We're probably going to send out a follow-up email on that one, just to remind everyone of the meeting schedule for the remainder of the year. All right.
Motion to adjourn, Mr.
We
Chairman.
have a motion. Is there a second? All right, second by Weatherston. With that, we'll call it adjourned.